Where would you see the big change happening in terms of modernization in the country, innovation? Tell us something that perhaps we were not considering.
Well, there are so many different ways in which technology is making itself felt. For example, we have now self-driving cars. We have level 2 self-driving cars. They can drive on the highway, follow the white lines on the highway, and there's really no need for any person to be seated and controlling any of the instruments. And now we're also seeing self-driving trains that are possible, self-driving planes. But the consumer acceptance to the accelerating rate of technological change is still there. So I really challenge a lot of people who are in the technology field to bring along the rest of the country, because we can't, as regulators, do a good job if there's a conflict between the galloping rate of technology and the consumer passenger acceptance as to what is possible. So the exciting thing the exciting part is technology is now becoming a very important force in even transportation. So we will now see self-driving cars, and that is going to be of tremendous help to the elderly who may not be as mobile, to the disabled, so that they will have more independence, more freedom. But we also need to understand that there are some concerns about privacy and, you know, other things that we need to kind of reconcile as well.
In terms of safety, though, do you think that the public has an acceptance of things like that, self-driving cars?
I think the public is concerned about the safety, not knowing very much. There are different levels of technology, and they're being worked out. So at a level 2, that's probably safer than a level 5 or level 4 self-driving car. But there's a lot of experimentation going on. So we who are in the government have to be concerned about preserving safety for the traveling public. And so long as there is a gap between what the public feels safe with and what the technology says, then we, of course, have to listen very carefully to everyone, but especially the traveling public.
I have this conversation with my sister all the time, and we talk about self-driving cars versus, driving your car. And the truth is with a self-driving car, you don't have to worry that the person is driving and looking at their texts. You don't have to worry that the person didn't get enough sleep, is on the phone, distracted by something else. So there is a real component of, safety assumption in something like that.
Well, 94% of accidents on the highways occur because of human error. So self-driving cars can go a long way toward decreasing those numbers and bringing more safety on our roads.
It sounds like we're going to see more self-driving cars in America.
Well, that's certainly the trend. But again, the passenger acceptance of this new technology is very important.
Have you been meeting with private investors and private executives who are working on this, and Elon Musk or Google, who have really committed enormous amounts of capital?
And also Ford, General Motors, all the automotive companies, they're all looking at this as well.
And when you look at across the country, where do you see the big need? Is it largely airports first? I mean, is there a priority list as far as how the money will be allocated for the infrastructure program?
The transportation infrastructure of our country is very decentralized. So the federal government works in conjunction, in partnership with the state and local governments. And so we together decide what the priorities are. And most of the time, the states have very strong feelings about what their priorities are. And our role is to be a partner and to support that.
There's still a question of how it gets paid for. I realize it's $200 billion from government money.
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. Everybody wants to have a fantastic airport and great self-driving cars and roads and bridges, but they don't want to pay for it.
There are about 16 to 17 different ways of paying for our infrastructure, innovative ways, but most of them will meet some resistance. And the Congress has already said that they would not like a bill without pay-fors from the administration. So we are hard at work looking at the different ways of paying for this infrastructure. As I mentioned, $200 billion of that will be in direct federal funding. Some of that will come from the tax reform package that's being put together. Some of that will come from, most likely, sale of government assets. And then the remainder will probably come from public-private partnerships. But in all cases, we have to leverage the federal dollars, use it as an incentive, like a seed capital, to encourage and entice more private sector action to finance and to fund the infrastructure.